Possibly take a feed. Take a.
You want to go out?
Yes.
You can.
Aux input mode.
Yeah. Everything.
Okay. That shouldn't cause a feedback.
Let's turn it on a little bit.
Let's go, studio. But to every mind there openeth a way and way and a way. A high soul climbs the highway, and the low soul gropes the low. And in between, on the misty flats, the rest drift to and fro. But to every man there openeth a highway and a low, and every mind decideth the way his soul shall go. One ship sails east, and another west, by the selfsame winds that blow. 'Tis the set of the sails, and not the gales, that tells the way we go. Like the winds of the sea are the waves of time. As we journey along through life, 'tis the set of the soul that determines the goal, and not the calm or strife. You can give me something in this.
Oh, you're not hearing anything?
Mm.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's it. Thanks.
When that left, I did turn it down.
But
Sorry,
it's-
I'm gonna turn it up.
It's one
Side.
channel.
This is one of the last good amplifier we have in it. Still? Oops.
Mm-mm. It's all right. Look like something's a little off.
Still?
Still only one.
Yeah.
One. It's all right. You know this theme?
Yeah.
From where?
Jeez. I know it though. Not can't tell you where.
Schools Challenge Quiz.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's called Water Music.
That's the name of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
By
That's
Frederick
the name of it.
George Frederick Handel. Mhm. Afternoon studio standing by. Once it ends, you can come to me. And then you restart it and use it as a bed. The usual. So that one can work?
No, unfortunately.
Oh.
As well as it's a regular Android channel.
Okay. All right. I don't know the difference yet. I haven't learned it yet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
You do it, you do that.
Depending on you, studio, to give me a clear indication. near coming to me, although I should be able to hear it, but just in case.
Oops. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Sounds like we're getting there. 2021 to 2030 is the International Decade of Healthy Aging, the International Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, the International Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, and the Decade of Action for Road Safety. Before we go any further, just in case you missed it, we started out with a piece known as "Tis the Set of the Sail." That's one way people remember it. "Tis the Set of the Sail," otherwise captioned "One Ship Sails East." "Tis the Set of the Sail," or "One Ship Sails East." That's the poem we started out with this afternoon, followed by a composition uh, by George Frederick Handel, Water Music. It's called Water Music by George Frederick Handel. And if it sounds familiar, it should, because for decades, this used to be the theme music for School's Challenge Quiz. There you go. It's the 29th day of the ninth month of 2022, the International Year of Sustainable Mountain Development, the International Year of Basic Sciences for Sustainable Development, the International Year of Glass, and the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. Put another way, it's the 29th day of the fourth month of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. And up to midday, the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, was reporting a flash flood emergency for Volusia County, including Daytona Beach, Port Orange, and New Smyrna Beach in Florida. There was also a report that Tropical Depression number 11, and that's not the mango that some of us are accustomed to here in Jamaica. That's a different kind of number 11, which we hope will not germinate beyond where it is right now. But it was moving northwestward and likely to dissipate in a day or so. Closer to home, there's a trough across Jamaica, and we don't have to remind you what that is. Those of you who are constantly in touch with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Poro 106 FM, when we speak of a trough, we are talking about some kind of unstable weather in terms of clouding, rain, or thunderstorms. In fact, a trough is always associated with some weather activity, either directly or indirectly. And right, so there's a reminder for you as far as the trough is concerned. So there is a trough across Jamaica, and the trough is expected to remain across the island over the next few days. The rest of this afternoon, expect widely scattered showers and thunderstorms, mainly across northern and southwestern parishes. Elsewhere, cloudy. Tonight will become fair. It's the penultimate day in the month of September, and a number of observances are drawing to a close. Alzheimer's Month, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, Employers Month, Travel Agents Month, Alopecia Awareness Month, alopecia being partial or complete hair loss, baldness. September is also Cheese Month, and it's National Senior Citizens Month. In fact, National Senior Citizens Week activities continue here in Jamaica, and we salute the more than 300,000 senior citizens who make up about 12% of Jamaica's population. This week is also Tourism Awareness Week. Spare a thought for all those who had plans to vacation in sections of Florida this week. Unfortunately, those plans have had to be shelved, and people now have to look to picking up the pieces and trying to get back on track. Our thoughts, and we indeed commiserate with those who have been impacted by Hurricane Ian, and before that, Hurricane, who was that, Fiona. And there were a couple who were trying something, but it didn't work out, like Gaston. And uh, well, let's see. Hope springs eternal in the human breast. Alexander Pope tells us, "Be of good courage. This too shall pass." This week is also Access to Information Right to Know Week. In the United States, September is Blood Cancer Awareness Month, and that's drawing to a close. So too, Healthy Aging Month, National Atrial Fibrillation Awareness Month, National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month, National Cholesterol Education Month, National Food Safety Education Month, and National Idiopathic Thrombocytopenic Purpura ITP Awareness Month. Activities continue, and ITP is a condition that for short, for people to remember it, they just say ITP. Also in the United States, September is National Pediculosis Prevention Month. Pediculosis refers to head lice. So it's Head Lice Prevention Month, National Recovery Month, National Sickle Cell Month, National Yoga Awareness Month, Newborn Screening Awareness Month, Pain Awareness Month, Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, PCOS Month, Sepsis Awareness Month. Sepsis is a serious condition resulting from the presence of harmful microorganisms in the blood or other tissues and the body's response to their presence, potentially leading to the malfunctioning of various organs, shock, and death. Sexual Health Awareness Month and Sports Eye Safety Month also drawing to a close. It's World Heart Day under the theme Use Heart for Every Heart. National Hispanic Heritage Month activities continue in the United States. It's International Podcast Day. It's Boquerón Battle Day in Paraguay. Momo Alumundia on Haiti. St. Michael's Day in Spain. Christians in the United Kingdom and elsewhere in the Western world are celebrating Michaelmas, the feast of St. Michael. It's World Maritime Day. Hoy es jueves, el 29 de septiembre 2022, y les saludamos en cualquier parte del mundo que nos están escuchando en este momento. Estamos muy agradecidos por el don de la vida y el privilegio de servirles en otra edición de su programa Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia. Nunca vamos a tomar su audiencia por sentado, porque sabemos que ustedes tienen otras opciones, y esta es la razón por la cual jamás olvidamos darle las gracias por elegir Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia, de lunes a viernes desde las 2 hasta las 5 de la tarde, aquí en Power 106 FM. La misión continúa para educar, capacitar, iluminar y estimular el espíritu empresarial. Bienvenidos. Come back. C'est jeudi le 29 septembre 2022 et nous vous saluons tous qui nous écoutez où que vous soyez dans le monde. Nous sommes reconnaissants du don de la vie ainsi que du privilège d'être à votre service par une nouvelle édition de votre programme Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre. Nous ne considérons pas votre fidélité comme l'un de soi parce que nous savons que vous avez l'embarras du choix. C'est pourquoi nous n'oublions jamais de vous remercier de choisir d'écouter Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre, du lundi au vendredi de 2h à 5h de l'après-midi sur notre antenne Power 106 FM. Nous continuons notre mission d'éduquer, d'habiliter, d'éclairer et d'encourager l'esprit d'entreprise. Bienvenue. Take it, studio. Sorry about that. Apologies for the late time signal. It's 17 minutes past 2 o'clock.
Yeah, damn it. Hermine was the one after Gaston.
Oh, Hermine.
Yeah,
Yes. Forgot about Hermine.
Like the name.
Yes.
Hermine and that's
Fiona, Hermine, Gaston,
yeah.
Ian.
Yeah.
Because I didn't bring up this thing, and I normally keep a clock on the desktop here, apart from the time in the corner.
Okay.
Hate when I miss a time signal. Let's go. If you missed the Spanish and the French, here's the English. It is Thursday, the 29th of September, 2022, and we greet you well, wherever in the world you are listening to us right now. We remain eternally grateful for the gift of life and the privilege to serve you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story. We don't ever take your listenership for granted because we know you have choices. And that's why we never ever forget to remember to say thanks for choosing to listen to both sides of the story, Monday to Friday, 2 to 5, right here on Power 106 FM. The mission continues to educate, empower, enlighten, and encourage entrepreneurship. Welcome. Let's tell you now. Let's tell you now that the Caribbean Maritime University CMU Industry Conference 2022 is on, and you would have been alerted to that fact from as early as, well, not just yesterday when we did that pre event interview, but the promos that have been running here on Power 106 FM. The Caribbean Maritime University CMU Industry Conference 2022. It's a 2-day event being held today, the 29th of September, and tomorrow, Friday, the 30th and final day in the month of September. The conference is taking place here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, Jamaica, on the waterfront, overlooking the seventh largest natural harbor in the world. For those tuned in, please, we encourage you to use the hashtags CMUCONF for Frank 2022. That's hashtag CMUCONF 2022 or hashtag CMU Conference. Hashtag CMU Conference. And you could pick up some useful information as well when you follow those handles. The conference schedule started with registration, followed by the parade of flags and national anthem invocation. The official welcome was delivered by Professor Andrew Spencer, president of the CMU, and greetings from various representatives. Rear Admiral retired Peter Brady, Director General of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica, Chair of the HR Committee, the CMU Council, the Honorable Favour Williams, MP, Minister of Education, the Honorable Dr. Norman Dunn, MP, Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Dr. Genevieve Brown Metzger, President and Executive Director of the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation. The keynote address was delivered by Mr. Darwin Telemak, Chief Executive Officer, Antigua Port Authority, and Chairman, Port Management Association of the Caribbean. And those proceedings were followed by a break, then a cultural item, and the first topic, end to end. Well, that's the theme anyway. The theme of this CMU Industry Conference 2022 is end to end logistics, opportunities in an era of uncertainty. End to end logistics, opportunities in an era of uncertainty. And that panel discussion, chaired by Dr. Genevieve Brown Metzger, President and Executive Director of the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation, and former Consul General in New York. And the panelists were Rear Admiral, retired Peter Brady, Director General, Maritime Authority of Jamaica, Dr. Eric Deans, Maritime and Logistics Specialist, Special Economic Zone Expert, Ms. Sandra Casanova, President and founder of Cluster GAT Carib Logistics and Transport. Looks more like Caraïbe, the French. Anyway. And then there was the launch of the new Emerald Journal at lunchtime. And I believe we are, according to our program, we should be in the area of the industry feature. Dr. Paul Campbell, member of the CMU Council. Panelists, Mr. Donovan Wignall, founder and CEO of Maretrans Logistics Limited. Mr. Omar Chedda, Senior Director, Investment Unit, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. And Dr. Karen Adair, Associate Professor, Caribbean Maritime University. So that is where it's at as far as the schedule is concerned. And coming up, well, according to the schedule, 2:20 p.m. It's now 2:25, so one might be running into the other at this time. The other is the future of the cruise industry post-COVID-19. The future of the cruise industry post-COVID-19. And that session to be chaired by Mrs. Myrna Ellis Medina, Senior Lecturer at the Caribbean Maritime University, Lanagay Franklin Green, Natola Meredith, and Professor Ibrahim Ajaguna, the Caribbean cruise industry and COVID-19, what planned strategic options exist for recovery for small island countries. Andrew Spencer and Diana Spencer, Cruising on Choppy Seas, the revitalization of Jamaica as a cruise destination post-COVID-19. And there's also an analysis of the post-COVID-19 cruise industry. Could this be a new possibility for the luxury yacht sector in the Caribbean? And then Aaron Garfield McLean on, can Jamaica's cruise administrators re-strategize, strengthen inclusiveness, expand attractions, and gather more revenue? Think on these things as we want to get a sense of what's happening on the floor. And so we're going to take a bit of the feed now, just so you're brought into the loop as far as the discussions here are concerned on this World Maritime Day. So you're listening to Donovan Wignall right now. That's the voice you're hearing. He's the founder and CEO of Maretrans Logistics Limited, giving us his perspective. Let's listen.
And those vessels
Alright, so
another factor that we have to consider for the Caribbean transport of goods, which affects not just MSMEs but any other business, is the combined population of most, if not all, the Caribbean islands in the Lesser
Is audio
Antilles
going to this?
equals to the population of, if not more than half the population. Not big
oh, God,
population.
I took it out of there.
Jamaica, which is the third largest island.
It's the same box.
Referencing Mr. Telemark again, logistics is driven by supply and demand.
Or just the
Large
volume then?
population centers drive demand.
You're,
Where there
you're
is
playing.
demand,
Yes,
logistics
if you
services are needed to get the cargo to those places that has a need
it
for
actually
raw
feeds
materials,
this.
Yeah, but
materials for
audio.
manufacturing,
yeah, volume
food
control
for the
is there now.
population,
Hmm?
fuel for the
Yeah,
country's
volume
energy
video
needs,
meter.
building materials for
So, you know,
construction
all
for the
over
construction
Mhm.
sectors, etc.
So,
There's a reasonable demand for cargo from the Greater Antilles to the Lesser Antilles, but the reverse is not the same, meaning that there's little demand for cargo flowing northwest from the Lesser to the Greater Antilles.
mm-mm.
Where there's low
Let's go
demand,
from audio to audio.
there's not going to be much entrepreneurial interest in the provision of logistics services, as they are likely any other business, as any business who wants to be in business to
Hmm?
make a profit.
Well, let's
They
see.
are
I
profit
just
driven.
want
So
to
if
open it up.
putting in a service down to the Caribbean is not profitable, it will not happen, or not in any great measure.
Okay.
Lessons
Thanks.
of historic failure. We had
Dr. Graham, how are you?
a shipping company, Wisco, West Indies Shipping Company, that started the service some time ago, but that's and the infrastructure generally down in the Lesser Antilles
So for what it's
does not
worth,
really support
I'm
outside of
streaming
what Mr.
on
Telemann showed us
my
earlier
Facebook
about
page
the
and also on
development
YouTube.
in his country, which is phenomenal.
So I wouldn't
And a
mind
few
you
other
being on
countries,
camera.
including Barbados and Trinidad, would have very developed ports, but the
Yeah,
others
that
have
happens all the
challenges
time.
where handling
I get that all the time.
containerized cargo is concerned.
I'm used to it. Once you say
Jamaica has a
camera to
reasonable
the
output of
ladies,
tonnage going to the Lesser Antilles, and of late, mostly due to COVID-19 pandemic. Inbound from South America due to importers seeking nearshore supplies to circumvent the supply chain bottlenecks in the traditional sources of goods and supplies in the Far East, Europe, and North America,
please, yes.
making the often used maxim ring true. My words, of course, opportunities are always presented in the worst of times in any industry. So the opportunities presented during COVID, we're taking advantage of. So people know when searching and found supplies in South
Let's go, studio. Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Poro 106 FM, the story of Jamaicans at home and abroad. I'm Dervan Malcolm. We're live at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, Jamaica. We're here for the Caribbean Maritime University CMU Industry Conference 2022, a two-day event. This is day one of two. And the conference, as we said, is taking place right here at the Jamaica Conference Center. Our guest at this time is Dr. Caroline Graham, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies. And this sounds exciting already. Dr. Graham, how are you? Excellent. Are you where you plan to be at this stage in your life? A senior lecturer in the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies?
Well, in terms of being an academic, yes, but I'm not sure in terms of the exact plans. I just generally say what I want to do and go for it, like getting a PhD, but not necessarily at the CMU as a senior lecturer.
Yes. and so let's take it one at a time. Let's go back. You, as a youngster growing up, what was it that, can you make a connection to whatever excited you at that time growing up that would cause you to be lecturing about marine and nautical matters?
No, well,
I'm just trying to find the influence,
yes,
the trigger.
I know. I love school and love learning. So this is really just a natural progression. As I said, not specifically maritime.
Or practicing that way, but teaching.
Yes, teaching and having a PhD and so on.
Okay.
I love teaching and encouraging young people, and I believe in education and the value of it. So I knew I was going to be somewhere in teaching, doing something, but not the specifics.
Yes.
Of it.
Right.
Getting into the maritime industry was perhaps an accident, because I got a job as secretary at the Maritime Authority of Jamaica and then moved through different posts. So I held about 5 different posts in one organization. So it was that got me into the maritime industry, and I stayed. Once I'm in an environment, I want to learn as much. So I was there. I started a diploma in shipping logistics at the CMU, and halfway I left that to go to the World Maritime University to do a master's in maritime education and training. And then from that, I went to Cardiff University Seafarers International Research Center, where I did the PhD in so-called maritime sociology. So it was being in the environment and wanting to learn as much. So wherever, if I was somewhere else, I would have done something similar.
So which cohort of students would benefit from your lectures now in the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies?
All of them, because I do, final year, it depends on how the program is organized, but now I'm going to teach second, third, and fourth year research methods. And then I teach a course called Human Element, Leadership and Management to the final year. But it's seafaring students, those in the training to be seafarers, to drive those big ships that bring all this stuff to you. Your watch and your phone. Well, I think those would perhaps go on cargo, on air cargo, but all the other things you order, your clothes and your water that comes on these container ships.
So essentially, you're contributing to the education and I dare say socialization of seafarers.
Yes.
What's the interest like? I mean, in terms of those who turn up for classes, and what is that ratio like as well?
Well, when I started, it was during the COVID, so we were online, and the attendance was good. Those who who signed up, registered for the course, they did turn up online, and now we're going to go face to face. So the turnout is good. You're interested in the course, and because it how I teach it, I take a critical perspective, and the course is important. So it's not one of your technical courses, because we're more interested in the technical things, but it's I deal with the softer side, they call it, of shipping. So I take a critical perspective of it, because this course is important in the sense that, just to say loosely, there are many accidents at sea, and the industry thought to look at the so-called human element in ship, because they were focusing on the technical aspects of it.
While losing people.
Yes. So they started focusing, and what should I say? It also was influenced by some accidents, major accidents in other industries, so like Chernobyl, the chemical industry, and so on. So shipping started to take that look at what was happening out at sea.
Yes.
While we're having these accidents, we're improving on the technology, yet you have these things happening out at sea. So we were not focusing enough on the people at the so-called sharp end, so the seafarers on board, and also the management ashore that's supposed to provide certain things for safety at sea. They were not, let's say, pulling their weight, so to speak. So the industry started taking a look at the people. And this course now that I teach is to educate the seafarers on the human element, how people are involved in accidents, and some of the things we can do to better prepare them to go to sea for better safety.
Yes.
And health management on ships.
And to what extent as well does that take in interpersonal skills? Because you have people of different nationalities, faiths, etc. Is that a part of the package?
Yes. There's culture training in culture, and the cultural differences and so on is a separate course in a way, but I also touch on it because all of this is involved.
It's about people.
It's about people. So culture, something as simple as food. I remember years ago, we were talking about, somebody came back from their sea time and talk about the food. People who don't understand, what is food? Eat food, different culture. So food, food is very important to us. So the course touches on all those things, those social aspects of life, because they live, sleep, work on board the ship. So it's your home, and when we're at work, we can leave, and you don't like this person, so you can't wait for the end of the day. You go home, you can relax, you have your friends at a bar and so on, or wherever you go. You're stuck on the ship for months and months with the same people. So how do you manage that space?
Did you have any opportunity to connect, to link, and to share such a link with your students, for example, of those who were either, I don't want to say trapped at sea, but those who during COVID had issues because of in terms of trying to get back home, etc., and the impact on their mental health as well. Some of them were almost losing it.
A bit of that would come in when we're talking about safety, occupational health and safety, really, because that's my area of interest and concern and research, the health and safety and well-being of seafarers. So we do talk about mental health, and what COVID did, and what I talk about too when I even write, is that COVID only exacerbated the problems that were there before. Right, so COVID didn't really bring, apart from the locking down and not being able, COVID didn't really bring anything new. They were suffering. They were suffering from, it's not a laughing matter. They were suffering from some of the same things. Long voyages, loneliness, missing family, and so on. And people might say, oh yes, you choose to do that profession, but it's how the industry manages what happens on board that will make the seafarer's life a little better. Things like connectivity, internet connectivity is not a certainty for all of them. Same thing with food again. The quality of rest and work scheduling and so on. These are all problems in the industry, and they do come out in the course when I'm teaching the course, the different things that can impact health and safety, and how seafarers can manage, and how the industry through regulations and ensuring compliance can and should manage these things for seafarers. So I teach all of that. Basically, what I try to do is to create an awareness of life at sea and what they're getting into.
Right.
You don't want to scare away anybody, but you have to be practical and sensible and honest about what it is they're getting into, so that they're more prepared when they go to sea.
And speaking of preparation, how prepared are your students when they come to you? Are they ready for this?
Not always. Not always. So a few might have had their sea time already, who went to sea to do, because there's a part of the program, an apprenticeship in a way, where you do some class studies, then you go to sea to get, your sea legs, get some amount of orientation towards sea life, and then you come back. So what I do with those when I'm teaching, I say to them, what was your experience like? And let them tell the class. I also get some to write, like journals that I use in class for assignments, and say, this is an actual student who was at this school and this is the experience. You better kind of listen to what is going on. So they well, it's me teaching, so I don't want, but they do learn a lot from
I would imagine so. You've been very forthcoming. But we could talk with you all afternoon, but we don't want to monopolize your time. So we're going to thank you at this stage for enlightening our darkness. We've learned a lot in the short space of time. Congratulations to you. Well done, and all the very best.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good listeners, that's Dr. Carolyn Graham, Senior Lecturer in the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies at the Caribbean Maritime University. We're live at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston on this World Maritime Day. The CMU Industry Conference is on. It's over 2 days. If you don't manage to get here today, there's always tomorrow, but it would be great if you could do both days. More in a moment.
You're listening to Pearl 106 FM. The time is now
2:45. Be part of the
Well done.
Painless.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Well done.
remembering me. I was leaving. And her local and international presenters.
It was- It was divine providence. Yeah. All right, take care. Always ready. Every 15 minutes. Thanks.
Or log on to icaj.org for registration and more details.
She's the one that can tell you about the conference itself.
Okay, because she would have been involved in putting
Very
it together.
much
To
so.
know your
Okay.
rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. And we continue to do this in 2022.
Let's go. You're listening to Water Music by George Frederick Handel. And those old enough to remember Schools Challenge quiz in the early days, years ago, this was the official theme. And most appropriate, we're talking about maritime matters on this World Maritime Day, in this World Maritime Week. And we are continuing our discussions. In fact, just before our next guest comes to us, we want to remind you that the theme of this Caribbean Maritime University CMU Industry Conference is end-to-end logistics, opportunities in an era of uncertainty. End-to-end logistics, opportunities in an era of uncertainty. The conference co-chairs are Professor Ibrahim Ajaguna and Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson. We are delighted to see the support from the partners, shipping partners and sponsors, Lannaman and Morris Limited, Freight Handlers Limited, and also support from the Universal Service Fund. Let's remind you of the hashtags CMUCONF 2022 or hashtag CMU Conference. Hashtag CMU Conference or hashtag CMUCONF 2022. The Caribbean Maritime University has as its vision the Maritime University of Choice for Global Leaders. And this is where it all begins. And so in just a moment, we are going to be having a word with Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson. She's Director of Graduate Studies and Research at the Caribbean Maritime University, CMU. She's the conference co-chair. She's a member of the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. Are we leaving out anything? Let's say hello, good afternoon, and I don't even think we should be doing the welcoming because, well, it's a CMU event. Never mind. Welcome, Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson. How are you?
I am fine, thank you, Durban. Thank you for welcoming me to the space. I should be welcoming you too.
That's fine. We're both, well, we're mutually welcome to be here.
Yes.
Good. So now, first of all, you are Director, Graduate Studies and Research. That seems pretty straightforward. Where on the map of priorities or significance, and I'm not trying to get you into trouble, would you put this area of graduate studies and research? How significant is this area?
Well, you asked me where on the map. I think it's the destination. But in a serious way, graduate studies and research should give us a kind of sense of how hot a university is.
Okay.
If we are not contributing to the sea of knowledge, then truly we are just taking up space.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we prepare undergraduate students or students at the undergraduate level, we are introducing them to knowledge finding and the preliminary competencies that they need to start in the work world. But when we invite persons back to graduate studies, we're saying, hey, we see you making a contribution. Let us tool you to make a greater contribution. And we're saying there is a certain level of collegiality where you're going to help us now to solve problems in the industry space as a practitioner, because most students who come to us at graduate studies are already in the industry.
I see. I'm understanding now. So you are the ones who signal to people to say, hey, based on the work you're doing, you can add value, you can enrich this program, etc.
Especially the CMU context, because we are, well, I dare say, we are one of the few specialized higher education curriculum that is offered in Jamaica. So if this were the police training college, we would be serving a specialized space. The nursing educators are serving a specialized space. Teacher trainers are serving a specialized space.
Mm-hmm.
In the same manner, we are serving the specialized space of the shipping and allied industries. And as I did say, many of the graduate programs were designed to tool people who are already in the industry making waves.
Mm-hmm.
But the little thing that is missing is that benchmark of the higher education achievement, which is the degree.
Okay.
At the graduate level.
Mm-hmm. I see. Now let's talk about your work as co-chair of this conference. What has that been like? Pulling it all together, and then now to see it unfolding here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston.
Thank you for that question, Durban. I think I understand what the young people were doing when they were looking. There was this thing where they were trying to find, I don't remember what they say, oh, it's right here, and they'll go to Emancipation Park, go to people's houses to find these virtual things. It's a little like running after things, grabbing them and riveting them down. But it has been exciting, because we know that the conversation is exciting. I am sure that you have had many stakeholders before me, and we would have said to you that the final week of September, usually about the 25th to the 29th, thereabout, is seen designated globally as Maritime Awareness Week. And usually stakeholders, especially stakeholders like we are, which is a maritime education and training institution, usually does something to mark Maritime Awareness Week. Today, the 29th, is um, Maritime Awareness Day. So, our Global Maritime Day. And so it's a space in which we say, here's the business of shipping, here is what happens based on what happens on the high seas. And we usually try to benchmark. Jamaica has several players, so we sometimes start with a church service and those things. For us at Caribbean Maritime University, this conference today is our nod to Maritime Awareness Week and Global Maritime Day. So it was wonderful to plan to bring together the stakeholders in the industry and have them say to all listeners, including our students who are trying to get into the industry, this is the role we play, this is how large the industry is, this is what we need for continuity and viability. And so that kind of planning and liaising with people who move and shake, that was excellent.
Quite remarkable. But how do you ensure that the people who are involved are those who really need to be involved in terms of participants, in terms of deciding who you're going to invite, what are the areas to cover, and ensuring that you're not forgetting anything or you're not missing anything?
Ah, the IMO helps us every year because usually they have a theme for the year. So we have in early in the year, we had Day of the Seafarer. There's a theme around that. When we get down to Maritime Awareness Week, there's a theme around that. So for this year, we're looking at greener shipping, looking at the renewable nature of the ocean. And as we started planning, we said, what could we look at that will bring these things together, these thoughts? Because we're a training institution and we do more than just train seafarers, we train so many people in the allied industries. We said, let's look at end to end logistics because technically that's what it is. It is about ideating on a service or creating goods, thinking who will use them and getting them from the start point to the end user
In an efficient manner.
in an efficient manner. So when we thought about it like that, we do what we do when we plan our curriculum. What we usually do is say, what does the industry need? And then we say, let's train that. So in the same manner, we said, well, what do we need to talk about? Let's find the person who can best speak about it today and give an invitation. And usually people are happy to come on board.
And so far, so good. As going through the program, I printed a couple of copies or a couple of pages. So, for example, right now we are at, I think we're here.
Right.
So, Donovan Wignall
Right.
of Maritrands Logistics, Omar Cheddar, Senior Director Investment Unit in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and Dr. Karen Adair, Associate Professor, Caribbean Maritime University. Now, looking at the makeup of this panel, should perhaps give one a sense of perspective and where you're going. So it is quite evident that you have done your homework.
Yes, nice eclectic mix. Because Mr. Wignall is Maritrands, that is his business. But when it comes to one of the things that he does, but he's heavily involved in customs processing, freight forwarding, logistics at the get it to the user kind of space. In his I don't know if it's activism, but in that space, he's president of, or has been president of small and micro businesses.
Yes.
Mr. Cheddar is coming to us from oversight and legislation.
Critical.
And then Professor Dare is here teaching. And so we get it all together.
Making that connection.
Right, and point it at preparing people for a better industry. Yes. That was our intention.
Yes, and clearly it's working out. So what's the rest of today looking like? And how is tomorrow shaping up?
Today we spend a little moment with one panel looking at the cruise industry because that's a really critical area, an area that went into paralysis in the COVID-19 pandemic. but it's a $1 billion industry area, so we can't ignore it, and we do prepare an entire cadre of students as with a bachelor in cruise shipping and marine tourism management.
Oh, really?
Right. So we want to focus on the cruise industry for a while. And today runs out a strong focus on the industry. Tomorrow we have the first half of the day looking at security, because increasingly we have a problem globally with securing shipping business from the ports to what we have on the boats. And the warehouses are vulnerable to well, I think our center is proliferation. So all thing gone. So we have to look at securing. What we have found though is that the pandemic brought us into a new space with the challenge of security, because people are buying online, and they're buying online with their data, and routing goods to places just virtually. And anybody who is smarter than the buyer can take
And
the
possibly
money,
intercept and
can intercept, reroute, and all sorts of things. So we have a strong panel running across our academics. The head of our security center, this executive director, Mr. Owen Ellington, former commissioner.
Oh, wow.
And interestingly, we have Mr. San Thompson over there, former deputy commissioner. They are going to be hosting some of the folks in their area. So we have two active police
Hold on,
officers.
don't move. I want you to tell us some more after the break. Listeners, if you're just tuning in, you've been listening to Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson. She's Director, Graduate Studies and Research at the Caribbean Maritime University, CMU. She's conference co-chair for the CMU Industry Conference, and she's a member of the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. More in a moment.
Coast to Coast Concrete, the high quality concrete, fencing, roofing, foundation, and road surfacing. Call 876-754-7472. The time by Coast to Coast Concrete is
3 o'clock. Like other pharmacies, Tate's Clarendon Pharmacy provides over-the-counter prescription.
So I'll just throw back to you where we come
Unlike
from
many
this
other
week. Come
pharmacies,
back from this
Tate's
week.
Pharmacy offers 11 hours of continuous service, free air piercing, and 10% discount.
Yes, man, I have
Visit
that.
27 Market Village Plaza, Maypen. Telephone 876-986-2224.
Tune in to Farm Talk every second and third Tuesday of each month at 6:18 a.m. for the feature High Pro Food Independence. High Pro Food Independence will focus on
Let's go, studio. Thanks a lot for staying with us here on both sides of the story, Poro 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm. Our guest is Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson. She's Director, Graduate Studies and Research at the Caribbean Maritime University. She's conference co-chair and a member of the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. She has been very instrumental in a lot of the background work, pulling it together, getting, identifying key persons and making arrangements for presentations and a host of other areas that are covered in putting on a conference of this magnitude. It's happening at the Jamaica Conference Center here in downtown Kingston, Jamaica, and I love this part, on the waterfront, overlooking the 7th largest natural harbor in the world. It just puts you in another space when you say it. Right. So you were saying you were, just pretty much giving us an idea of...
Okay, yes. And I was saying we have a security panel. You'll hear more about that.
Yes.
And then tomorrow we have a strong academic lean to the conference. So we are doing research papers. A number of the presenters are going to be presenting material that have been peer reviewed, because they had these papers published in a strong Tourism and Hospitality Journal, the the Journal of World Hospitality and Tourism Themes Journal of the Emerald Database. And so it's strong material that any researcher globally can look at. And so they'll be presenting, in short, those papers. We wrap up a little early tomorrow. It's Friday, and we want those who came in to enjoy Jamaica to get a little run around before they run out. But tomorrow is our academic day, and the security panel is in the morning.
Excellent. And we have to ask you about this organization, Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. Is it a given that there is an arm of that organization here in Jamaica as well, as in Jamaica? Yeah, please tell us.
The International Maritime Organization is an incubator for shipping excellence globally, and the IMO has in most developing spaces have a kind of incubator organization that pulls out women, because the women tend to be an underserved population,
Especially in certain sectors and
especially certain
industries.
industries, and
Mhm.
shipping tends to be a man's work. I'm not here. We have said it's not feminism that we're going after. We're going after opportunities and a space where women can share.
And in any case, I mean, we have long known that even if there are those who say it's a man's world, it will be nothing, would have been nothing, as the song says, without a woman or a
Yes,
girl, eh?
yes. And the IMO supports shipping and its business globally, and one of the ways in which it gives that support is that scholarships are offered to nationals in developing regions, but women too, and so scholarships to attend the World Maritime University in Malmo, Sweden. Some about 6 years ago, two past students of the WMU who were women who were actively and well placed in Jamaica at the time did a paper for a presentation there and realized that most of the persons across the region who graduated, females, were well placed, but this placement was not being reflected in um, not just their own movement, but just the voice of women. And then that's when they realized that perhaps the support platform of Women in Maritime Association that has the IMO behind it was needed in this region. And out of that research paper was birthed this amazing space where I think 17 countries came to make together in Jamaica. So the secretariat for WEMAC is in Jamaica, housed at the Maritime Authority of Jamaica, and everything was put together. And WEMAC, we call it. In other territories, it's called otherwise, but in the Caribbean, we said we would be the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean, and we call ourselves WEMAC. About 17 countries from up here down to Suriname came together, and we chartered our version of it in this region. There is a proper chapter in Jamaica, as well as in all of the other all of the other countries in the region. In Jamaica, though, we have something extraordinary. We have
We would have to have something extraordinary, otherwise we wouldn't be Jamaica.
we
Go
have
ahead.
the Maritime Education and Training Institution called Caribbean Maritime University. So outside of the work of the chapter in general, there are some things that we want to do at CMU. We already have corporate membership, but we want to launch a student chapter for this academic year.
Ooh.
The opportunities for discussion, for networking, for coaching and mentoring, and for job preparedness and opportunities for women is amazing. And for men too, because there's always support. It is amazing that it was Admiral Peter Brady and Mr. Colin Young who were there when we launched the chapter, rather than women only. So we are looking forward to the excitement of that too. I'm excited to be a part of what WEMAC does in the training space.
And finally, just so we can release you, I'm sure you have other matters to take care of. What would say to you at the end of the day, yes, we have achieved our objectives for this 2022 CMU Industry Conference?
The coming together and observed dialogue is beautiful. It already says to me, yes. Having students translate what they've heard into their own research and learning is something amazing too. Embarking on some relationships for coaching and mentoring and preparing our students for the industry MOUs, that sort of thing. I just heard our guest speaker say that we need to have a student chapter of the Port Management Association of the Caribbean or some organization amongst our students affiliated to PMAC. If we could work through that for this academic year, that's good success.
All right. We'll be tracking your progress.
Thank you, Dervan. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Take care. All right. Listeners, Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson, Director, Graduate Studies and Research at the Caribbean Maritime University, Conference Co-Chair and a member of the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. This is Both Sides of the Story, Horror 106 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. And lots of messages coming in. Let's see on YouTube. Let's go up the line here. Donovan Campbell says, good day, Mr. Malcolm and listeners. I'm giving God thanks for another day. Sean Chambers, good afternoon to you. Asha Ash says, hi, good afternoon, Mr. Durvan. Just tuning in from London, England, UK. Could you give me details again about website you gave out yesterday about passport? Well, that's a Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA. They're going to the UK. They'll be in the UK in another few days. They're leaving this weekend, and they're going to be helping Jamaicans in the United Kingdom, specifically in Birmingham and in London, to sort out their passport matters, passport, conditional landing, and a host of other areas will be covered. The Registrar General's Department will also be traveling to the UK to assist Jamaicans on the spot, on the ground with these matters. So Asha Ash, that's what that was about. In terms of the website, just Google PICA, P-I-C-A, PICA Jamaica, and you will be led to the website, and then from there you can click on the appropriate link and register for the town hall. In some instances, it might come across as a town hall, but it's really outreach, or as they say in UK, they refer to town halls as surgeries. That's what they call them in the United Kingdom. And so I hope that helped. Asha Ash, thank you for your message. And Elton Gordon says, good afternoon, Durvan. It was a terrible night here last night in Orlando. We're terribly sorry to hear that, Elton Gordon. We trust that you and your family are managing, coping, getting the requisite assistance that you need. And we wish you all the very best as you seek to pick up the pieces and get on with your lives. Also messaging us, this is Kareen Campbell. She says, congratulations to the Talawas for making it to the CPL final. They will face the Barbados Royals. I hope the Talawas will win the title. Well, we'll see how that goes. Let's hop across to Facebook Live. Jacqueline Simmons, good afternoon to you. Andrew Holmes says, big up my boss. Big up to you too, Andrew Holmes. Jeannie Chambers, good afternoon. Jennifer Stewart says, good afternoon, Sir Durvan. Hope to see you at Mrs. Sybil Thompson's funeral tomorrow at 11. We'll see, Jennifer Stewart. We'll do our best. Sharon Richards says, good afternoon, Sir Malcolm and all listeners out there. One love. One love to you too. Thank you very much for your message. And Faye Weller says, good afternoon, Mr. Durvan and listeners. Also your guests. Thank you very much. And we're happy to be able to share with you on the occasion of World Maritime Day, day 1 of 2 of the Caribbean Maritime University Industry Conference, happening here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, Jamaica. We would like to once again remind you of the hashtags, hashtag CMUCONF 2022, hashtag CMUCONF 2022, and hashtag CMU Conference, hashtag CMU Conference. And once again, the sponsors, Lanneman and Morris Limited, not just sponsors, but partners, Freight Handlers Limited and the Universal Service Fund, all on board supporting this event. The overarching theme, end-to-end logistics, opportunities in an era of uncertainty. End-to-end logistics, opportunities in an era of uncertainty. And these are just some of the areas being explored by these highly and eminently qualified educators and industry leaders. A number of presentations still to come looking at, well, you heard earlier on from Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson with respect to, I just saw a familiar face. And he's going to join us right now. In fact, we'll just tell you who he is, and then we'll have to take the break and come back because we're up on the break. Well, keep looking and see if you can figure it out. We'll give you that task to do. Who is seated beside me right now? Go ahead and check out the live stream on Facebook, on the Dervan Malcolm Facebook page, and on YouTube via the Dervan Malcolm channel. Let's see if you have been paying attention. Who is beside me right now? Think on these things as we go to a break here on both sides of the story.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:15.
How are you, sir?
The Issamanning Cup Schoolboy Football Competition is in full swing, and Power Play will bring you live reports and updates on the football matches. Listen to every Tuesday at 7:15 p.m. right here on Power 106 FM. Live reports will be brought to you by Chada Distributors Limited, KFC, and Alice Duane and Company Limited.
Power 106 FM wishes to inform its listeners that the feature Your Legal Corner during both sides of the story will not be aired this afternoon. Your Legal Corner returns next Thursday at 3:30
once we're ready.
During both sides of the story. We apologize for any inconvenience this necessary program change may cause.
I don't know if anybody is trying. Let me see. Let's go, studio. Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Now, a cursory reference was made earlier on by Dr. Yvette Johnson Smith, right? With respect to the security and the maritime industry segment, and speak of the gentleman, and he appears, Mr. Asan Thompson, head of department for the Center for Security, Counter-Terrorism and Non-Proliferation. That sounds like it comes with a nice, healthy salary package to deal with all of that, Mr. Thompson.
Well, let me say it's reasonable.
Shot of class, as they would say in cricket. Well done. No, but it's good. It's good to see you, and we know that it's your love for country more than anything else.
So true.
That has seen you involved, not just in the public service per se, but also in private or public-private partnerships. More than 40 years of service to the Jamaica Constabulary Force. My late mother would say, "You're not tired."
In fact, it has been 42 years of service, yes, to the JCF.
Mm-hmm.
And upon retirement, I was asked to continue to contribute.
Yes.
My last post in the JCF was the Border Security Branch. So I was actually working with the Marine,
So it's a natural transition.
It's a natural transition. Ports, Marine, K9. So border security was my last assignment. So it's a transition to maritime now to continue in that field.
So what has the experience been like? I mean, you're still in uniform, but not JCF uniform in a sense.
No, not JCF. This is the maritime uniform.
Yes.
So I do wear it sometimes. Sometimes I'm in plain clothes, but coming from a uniform organization, I find no difficulty wearing it. So this is why you'll find me dressed like this when I'm teaching at the Maritime University or attending a conference like this.
Yes. And what are the similarities, if any, between where you spent 42 years and where you're now spending your later years?
Well, lots of similarity, but most importantly, one is the first one was to give security service totally. This one is now teaching and giving security service.
Yes.
So, we do some amount of consultancy here, but coming from JCF, it was all about security. So it's two road now, giving security and teaching security at the Caribbean Maritime University.
Got you. So let's talk about this. So it's a Center for Security, Counterterrorism, and Non-Proliferation. Which cohort of students benefit from this tutelage?
All right. So we have a number of programs in the center.
Yes.
So we start with the Bachelor of Science in Security Administration and Management. That cohort of students would be mostly people from the police, the military, customs, PICA, those persons, and that gear them towards middle, upper level management. So we have the bachelors and we have the Master of Science in Security Administration and Management for that cohort.
What's the demand like for that course?
Very, very high. Very, very high. And high in terms of students coming in and high in terms of industry wanting them, because people want people now who are certified to come into their business. So the demand is very, very good with that one.
Yes.
We have the Bachelor of Science in Forensic Sciences, because the forensic science is critical when you're looking at the maritime space.
Yes.
We have the Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics. Those are new programs that Mr. Ellington and myself brought into the center.
Yes.
Because you look at the maritime space, you have to look at it from land, sea, air, and virtual.
Okay.
So if you're looking at that from those four angles, then cybersecurity is critical. So we have a Bachelor of Science program for those persons. That one is geared towards students who want to contribute in that area. The demand for that is very high. Right now we have a number of persons who we are training. They are coming to the end of the 4-year period.
Oh, it's 4 years?
Yes, for that course. And all of them have been guaranteed jobs already. In fact, one organization has decided to take all those who we are training right now. So they're assured of employment. We are trying to say to some other organizations who have been inquiring whether or not they could get some of them, that one organization has asked to take all of them. So they have been guaranteed their jobs already.
That is quite something. Now, because of the nature of the training, yes, and the area, are you required then to do some kind of a screening of those seeking to enter these professions?
Yes, we have to screen some of them, not only for the cybersecurity and digital forensic, but we run a postgraduate diploma in counterterrorism management also. The Ministry of National Security, they would have played a significant role in helping us to train those persons. But we have to screen people, because based on what we will expose them to during their course of study, we have to make certain that is the right persons who we have on board, and we are not training people to go there to be part of the problem. So
what's the prevalence rate of telling people, so sorry, but this is not for you, or we can't accommodate you here, or however you say it. Have you had to say that to people or not yet?
Not too often, because the SAM program, Security Administration and Management, that screening and interviews are done,
Right.
and we have a way to to keep it at a certain level. So we don't really need to be saying that every day, because the minute you make the application, we start to do something.
Ah.
So we are ahead. We are always, we try at least to be ahead.
To be ahead. Yeah, that makes sense.
And there are continuous assessment from time to time. That even if somebody should be there, we have a way to find out what is happening. But we want clean and decent people to be placed in industries out there who don't want to be part of a problem.
Yeah, integrity is key.
Very, very important. Very, very important.
Right. And what can you tell us with respect to the practical component? Because it's not in your line of work. It's not sitting down and taking notes.
No. So when you look at say for instance digital forensics, cyber crimes and digital forensics, crime scene management, that's a component of it. People use devices like the cell phones and so forth, computers. These people who we are training, these students, they are able to use those things like a cell phone, and they can analyze it to see over time what those phones would have been doing, and they can go to court and present a case.
Yeah.
So that's what we are teaching them, how to analyze those things and so forth. They understand the laws, and they understand how crimes are committed by way of using computers and so forth. So they can analyze it, they can go to court, and they can assist the court in terms of saying what they have picked up. So,
I see.
so they have to do quite a bit of lab work. So they will go into the lab, and they have to go through a series of training, and they actually learn how to break down a computer and put it back together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remarkable. And what's the male female ratio like for these programs?
It is balanced now, but you tend to find
balanced.
Yes, relatively balanced. Relatively balanced.
Yes.
Where females and males coming, almost on a balance.
Yes, that's very good. And for you, in terms of the general output from your students, then how do you how receptive are they? How connected are they as far as the subject areas are concerned, and the extent to which they demonstrate that? I guess when you have to test them or assess them.
All right. So the beauty with the CMU, it has almost a semi-military component to it. So most of our people are uniform people. So the minute they come into that atmosphere, they take on the understanding that they're sort of in a semi-military sort of setting. So you get the discipline right away.
Yes.
They are committed to their work, very, very committed to their work. And the testing, exams, and so they know that we are serious.
Yeah.
So we are satisfied with how they approach their work. We are satisfied with their output, and they know that without their being able to pass their exams and so they are going to have a challenge. So we tend to find that they are working. The output is good.
Yes. And if in the event that demand grows beyond where it is now, do you think you have the capacity at Caribbean Maritime University to meet the demand?
Yes, we have the capacity, and we are encouraged by the position of our president now, looking at a global platform from which we can teach at CMU now. So it's no longer limited to just the people who are coming there or people from Jamaica. We are looking at regional. In fact, we are looking globally now.
Okay. So it's beginning to look like the United Nations in terms of the people, the mix.
The mix, yes.
At CMU.
Yes, exactly. That's where we are looking. So we think we have the capacity to increase the numbers We are building out the platform that we can deliver online, or most of our programs now online, that we can have a far reach.
Yes.
With our students and so. So we believe we should be able to keep a pace with the demands of the market.
Yeah.
And we are working closely with the industry. We have our stakeholders meeting from time to time with the industry players to get a feel of the needs out there, their expectations, and what they would like from our students. And so as we get that feedback, we build it into our program.
Sounds quite dynamic.
We try to be dynamic, because for the CMU, it's all about that leadership role that we need to play to be the best in the industry.
Indeed. Well, congratulations. It's good to see you again after such a long time.
Thank you.
But now we know where you are, head of department at the Center for Security, Counterterrorism and Non-Proliferation here. Well, as I said here, we're not there, but there at the Caribbean Maritime University. Well done to you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you very much, Evan.
All the best.
Good.
Okay, take care. Listeners, Mr. Asan Thompson, Head of Department at the Center for Security, Counterterrorism and Non-Proliferation at the Caribbean Maritime University, the organizers and executioners of this CMU Industry Conference, which is happening here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. There's more after the break.
Protecting Jamaica's borders
Yes,
from
sir.
illicit imports and exports is a key priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. The JCA will remain vigilant and resolute in effectively fulfilling this mandate. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency.
Your handwriting is fine.
Okay.
Pleasure.
On
Take care.
Gold, Wednesday evenings at 8 with Powering Your Health. Join us this Wednesday, September 28 in Healthy Conversations with Dr. Jackie. We'll be continuing the discussion on ways to boost your immune system and the impact of the environment on health. Learn what your urine says about your health and much more. You're invited to call in with your health questions and concerns. 876-922-4112-5. Brought to you by Wellington Dental and Compassionate
Indeed, the
Care
list goes
Medical
on.
Center. That's Powering Your Health this Wednesday, September 28th at 8 p.m. only on Power 106 FM.
Yes, that's quite something.
106 FM wishes to inform its listeners that the feature Your Legal Corner during both sides of the story will not be aired this afternoon. Your Legal Corner returns next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. during both sides of the story. We apologize for any inconvenience this necessary program change may cause.
How are you, sir? Durban, Malcolm.
Darwin Teleman.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Is that online?
Yes, this is on the Durban Malcolm YouTube channel and the Durban Malcolm Facebook page.
How do you send that?
Well, it's just need to type in the name DERVAN Malcolm and it will bring in everything. DERVAN Malcolm.
On YouTube?
Yes, Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, well, the show is called Both Sides of the Story, but it's right, live on YouTube and also on Facebook.
see if I can do this. Cordelia, I'm in the spot here.
You're great. You're professional.
Huh? Huh?
You're a professional at this.
All right, here we go. Let's go, studio. Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm. We're live at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, Jamaica, on the waterfront, overlooking the 7th largest natural harbor in the world. And as I said that, I'm just recalling now that the gentleman beside me would perhaps tell me of a place where they have 365 beaches, one for every day of the year. In fact, that was a question that I got when I was looking to enter the Caribbean Institute of Media and Communication, CARIMA.
Oh, really?
I did not know it at the time. I found it out after I sat the entrance test. But anyway, the gentleman next to me is the keynote speaker for the Caribbean Maritime University CMU Industry Conference, which is a 2-day event, started this morning and will continue tomorrow. And our keynote speaker, Mr. Darwin Telemack, he is Chief Executive Officer of the Antigua Port Authority, Chairman of the Port Management Association of the Caribbean, Vice Chairman of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. And if we were to go through the others, we perhaps would still be here tomorrow morning.
I can just correct you there. I'm not vice chairman. I'm the chairman of the OECS Port Committee.
Okay.
Yes.
Got you.
I'm vice chairman of the Inter-American Committee on Ports of the OAS.
Yes.
So that to be correct, because the vice chairman of the OECS would be a prime minister of one of the islands. Certainly, I'm not that.
Yes.
Let's make that very clear.
Okay, got you. Thank you. Thank you very much. But it's good to talk with you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you give us a sense of your first thoughts, your initial thoughts when you were invited to be the keynote speaker for this conference?
Well, certainly, first of all, even being invited here, and I think is a very, it's a valued proposition for me, because any regional discussion on transport, logistics, and port, something that I think is very critical. Now, I'm very much involved in the sector, so I can speak of the sector as being critical only because I'm involved in it. However, that's not really the driver. Transport and ports are like water through our veins in the Caribbean. We do not have a wide range of multimodal transport systems. So most of our deliveries are done by maritime, by the oceans. Our oceans are our critical lifeline. We are fed, housed, and clothed by ships that bring all these things to us. As a matter of fact, I was doing a lecture a while back at the University of Virgin Islands, and I asked the question, how do we get your food, clothing, and shelter? And everyone said in the shop or in the store. And we don't manufacture much. In Jamaica, there's a bit of manufacturing, and even with that bit, it still is a fraction of what Jamaica uses. And Jamaica, along with Trinidad, would be considered the two markets that do very large-scale productions of various goods and items that they utilize. Most of our countries import 98% of what we use, from the chairs, the desk, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, all of that is brought into us. And that node that handles all of that, our port systems, and it is because those port systems actually deliver on a level like that. This is why I consider this meeting here, this conference here, to be of critical importance. I think it's of critical importance, one, because it's organized by the premier maritime university in the Caribbean Maritime University. And when academia begins to assess a subject matter, it takes on a different turn. You can have discussions in various sectors in your community, and it really is just basic. When it begins to be highlighted at the academic level, it begins to reach a different audience different focus. And so it is for that reason that we saw that this is a very, very important place to be. I'm speaking of being here, even if I wasn't the keynote speaker, I would still want to come here to be part of this, to listen and learn. I was just sitting looking at the presentations being made by Karen Adair and the two other gentlemen. And all three of those presentations are absolutely rich with information and filled with data that can feed the betterment of the Caribbean logistics and transport profile. So I don't see it in any way as something that you come to because you are involved in it. This is something that most people in the sector ought to be at. And I think I will be, from the PMAC perspective, from the OECS perspective, even from my own personal perspective, inviting and encouraging more of the individuals within the port sector to be part of the next one once it's organized and being held. I think this industry conference ought to be something that CMU considers to be an annual event focusing on the industry of transport itself, because for many, many years, we have not seen any critical focus at the academic level with regards to this critical sector. And you can, I'm sorry if I'm ranting on here.
No.
It is a fact that of recent times, the Caribbean Maritime Institute was established, but it was really an institute that was not really recognized at any high profile. I think CMU introduced a whole different spin on the value of the sector, and having the Jamaican government having the vision to actually move this institute to a university status, I think represents a massive change, a sea of change to the Caribbean. What has not happened is the embracing of CMU as a regional institution. I don't think has actually taken place. It cannot be a Jamaican university. If it is, it fails. And I say this, and I'm not saying that the Jamaican people don't deserve to have a university. The Caribbean, for its survival, needs to have more adequately trained individuals managing the gateway to our hearts, our mouths, and our shelter. You can't have something so vital and not insert into it the best that you have to offer. And it's like we don't fight wars, but we fight the challenge of logistics and transport every single day, from a cost perspective, from an efficiency perspective, and from the overall delivery of so many difficult situations, multiple types of cargoes that we don't know how to handle. We don't have the right equipment, but somehow the guys are forced to use techniques that are not internationally known to come up with ways to handle it. Who trains them? Who nurtures those experiences and introduces the type of best practices that the Caribbean ports have to use to deliver for our people? And so CMU is the one that does that. I think we should begin to see more participation at this level from a regional perspective at these conferences, and also at the university itself. We should begin to see a little bit greater insertion into the Caribbean countries.
Is it too early to expect some kind of catalytic idea or plan to reflect the learning that has happened so far re COVID-19 pandemic and its implications?
Absolutely not. I think, as a matter of fact, if it's too late, then we're really in trouble. COVID, I think, has gone from a perspective of what's challenging us. COVID's no longer the issue. There are so many more that have shown up. The supply chain challenges, inflation, shipping options, scarcities, freight rates, escalating freight rates, diminishing of availability of freight equipment, cost of freight equipment. So many things are in front of us. We now have the Suez Canal increasing their charges, the Panama Canal doing so early in the year. So there are lots of things that are challenging us. These are things that are external from us. We can't really change those factors. So we have to begin now to figure out how, from our own localized environment at our ports of entry, how we can design greater efficiencies that could better help us to mitigate some of the impacts that we can't change. So if, for example, we have an escalating cost of shipping, and when you get to the port, we've not built in the institutional efficiencies, high productivity rates that we need to mitigate some of that, but it goes worse. You get from bad, as they say in local parlance, from bad to worse. And that's not what we want to do for our people, because the port serves the people. So in trying to minimize the impact, we should at least work towards reducing the level of pain that's caused at the port sector where we control. So essentially, while the rest of the factors that we can control escalates, at least if our private and public sector can see from the port side, there is ease of delivery, there's less bottlenecks, there are efficiency gains. The equipment works when you need it to work. The manpower is available. People are acting and behaving efficiently at our ports. At least there's some relief that we could deliver to the public and private sector. That really is the driver. Now, you don't get there by ignoring it and or simply not inserting the right quality and caliber of individuals that could impact on the efficiency and high productivity of the port. That's where CMU comes in, both at the academic level where we train, the technical level where we need lots of technical people, and even lower down in putting in place the type of training and certification that would be required, even for the lower level staff at our port, so that we can see a greater level of efficiency and high performance.
Hold it right there. A lot to unpack. We'll do our best. Time, all things considered, time-wise and otherwise. Listeners, Mr. Darwin Telemack is a keynote speaker at this industry conference organized by the Caribbean Maritime University on this World Maritime Day, in this World Maritime Week, right here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. More in a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:46 on Power 106.
For 50 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of
No,
Jamaica.
not yet. We'll wrap when we come back from the break.
And we continue to do this in 2022.
I think this is
The book is brought to you on Wednesdays by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Yes,
Under the
it is.
Law, 6:45 and 8:55 a.m. and at 4 and 9:55 p.m. on Power 106.
Come again? Oh. Yeah, man, Archie told me.
I don't have much to introduce him, so I'm just telling you.
That's all right. Here's Archie. Let's go, studio. On this World Maritime Day, this is Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm, and with us is Mr. Darwin Telemack, the keynote speaker on this day one of a two-day Caribbean Maritime University Industry Conference happening here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. Mr. Darwin Telemack is Chief Executive Officer of the Antigua Port Authority, and he chairs the Port Management Association of the Caribbean, among other things, in terms of chairing the Port Committee.
OECS Port Committee, yes.
Yes, the OECS Port Committee. So then, are you already seeing the clear, based on what you've said, clear signs of how we emerge out of all that's been happening over the last couple of years? Do you get a sense of cohesion as you have interacted with others from the region, not least of all here in Jamaica?
Well, I what I can say is that we see the challenge. Is there a cohesive strategy? No, there isn't. I can say for a fact that that cohesive strategy evades us. One of the main factors that causes me to come to that position is the lack of greater involvement of the Jamaica input in the broader Caribbean context of transport and port. For example, you do have the two largest ports within the English-speaking Caribbean. You have the largest global transshipment port, which is KFTL, which used to be KCT, and that transshipment facility, I think, is a treasure trove for what can happen within the broader Caribbean. I think the business to business activity that can be driven into Kingston from the region is an opportunity that we have to explore. And once we can get the businesses to reroute all of the global cargo that they move into Kingston and they move it from Kingston, we are beginning to create a regional hub location in Kingston that would then build out the feeder system that would come from here to go back into the islands. Now the challenge exists that, and it doesn't. We don't have the feeder service that would be able to move the cargo once it gets into the sub-region.
Is it beyond us to create such a?
Absolutely not. I think what drives opportunity is volume. So here is a scenario that I'd like to play out. You come into Kingston with a global cargo that is picked up from Kingston and is brought to St. John's Antigua. Why St. John's Antigua? St. John's Antigua now has the only container terminal in the sub-region. Brand new port we just signed off on Thursday. From a construction perspective, Thursday it will be open later by the Prime Minister when he is so desires for a date and time to be set. So we haven't cut the ribbons yet. We just signed off on the contractor's work, waiting for a grand opening. I hope you can come and cover that live yourself. That'd be good. But now that we've had that facility, we can go from Kingston to Antigua. We have a large amount of space to house the cargo. We have berthing space that can accommodate 3 container ships at the same time. There's no other OECS or sub-regional port that can actually do that. We can do that for now. We also have 365 days in a year access to our cargo berth. Most islands are challenged for 6 months in the year because they have cruise ships at their cargo docks. We have a separation between our cargo terminal and our cruise terminal, so whereas we can berth 5 full-size cruise ships and 3 full-size cargo ships, maybe 4. That arrangement means that you're never going to have the displacement that exists in the other markets all year round. So that says you can come into Antigua and you can deposit the cargo that belongs to the smaller islands, and then we create the capacity to encourage the local private sector in the smaller islands to build out that connectivity. The lack of a clear path towards available cargo is making investments a little timid. And so if that system is set up, because remember, you're now tying a supply chain effect from Kingston into the islands. In addition to that, you would now be able to move your Grace Kennedys, your neutral mixes, your J-Ray Nephews, and all the other guys that manufactures here, the Jam Pros of the world, the St. Mary's, banana chips and all of that. You can move those things from Kingston into the markets in a very seamless way. As a matter of fact, you could take it into St. John's. We could break it down on pallets, put it on small vessels. Nevis is 4 hours away. Montserrat is 45 minutes. We could be in 9 markets from Antigua within 2 or 3 hours. We are just not organizing this well enough. And the reason we're not doing it is because we don't have the volumes. We keep taking the volumes into Kingston and sending it to Miami. And if it goes to Miami, what happens there is those ships will bring it into the region, and they do a very good job, by the way. They Seaboard, Tropical, excellent job. What they don't do is they don't connect us. So they will come into Antigua and go to the next market and the next one, and then they go straight back up. So if you have something from St. Vincent, you want to get into one of these islands, it doesn't go to that island. It comes up and it comes back down whenever they are coming. We can change that reality. And we can do that by using the volumes that comes into Kingston. So here's an opportunity. You can do some fantastic things as well. So let's just say you have cargo coming from Malaysia, China, Panama, Brazil. They're less than container loads going into various ports. Someone in Kingston needs to get smart. Open a warehouse. bring that cargo in here, consolidate that, send it down on that feeder into Antigua, and then we can either ship it onto its final destination, or we can open the container, do the functions of the CFS, which we have established. We have a 100,000 square foot warehouse that we just built, ready for action to do it. We distrib it, and then we can pass it off the way it needs to go. It can go on a small fishing boat. It can go on a regular vessel. We can get it to where it needs to go if we want to. But what drives people's excitement, like I keep saying, is volumes. You can have the best idea. If you don't have volumes, they're going to be very timid in coming. If you are coming from Kingston, it's 300 or even 100 containers to go to the small markets, trust me, there's going to be a few people who will come together and move it.
And so, should it be taken to the higher level then? Should it be taken to CARICOM, for example?
No, I don't want it to go to CARICOM.
Okay.
I want it to be taken to the people who actually have we want to give those people who have the money, private sector, people who, for example, Jeffrey Hall is a very interesting guy. We need him to see those opportunities, engage him to see the potential that exists, not only to expand his business, but also to strengthen the Caribbean, because there is a weakness in our existence. And it's not COVID, it's not inflation. It is the challenge that exists from the lack of sustainable regional transport. We don't have it. We need it because we depend on it for our survival. So if we are doing it, there tends to be a little bit more commitment. There have been so many lines who packed up and left the region. Things get difficult, things get hard, they leave. There's no engagement between that business and the governments because we have no regulation that says what can be done, what should be done. They just leave. If there's a regional partner, especially right now, we can build a framework for them to be supported at some level. And should there be some difficulties, the governments can then come in to say, okay, how can we assist? Because the future of the region is going to be measured by how well we build intra-regional connectivity, but we have to do so by using the volumes that exist. And by the way, we could strengthen it even more by integrating two countries that are not easy to integrate. That would be Jamaica and Trinidad, and even make it even stronger. There seems to be a cultural challenge for many, many years going on. We can move beyond that because we're doing business now. And if we can get this system going right, we can merge Trinidad, merge Jamaica. There is enough volume there for us to build a regional feeder and make the system work. So if in a perfect world, what we'd like to see is Jamaica, Antigua, you can even do Trinidad, Antigua, and then we feed to the smaller islands, and that works. I would also want to state, and I'm speaking of Antigua, not just because I'm the port manager there. We have the key infrastructure, that's one. Second, it's big enough that we have enough space to handle what is there now and about 8 to 9 or 10 times more cargo. We have resiliency that's been built in from the standpoint of we have a 2 megawatt or 1.5 megawatt generator backed up by another 0.5 meg generator, so that if you have cold storage, which we aim to expand on in the port, as well as plugging up refrigerated containers, if we have those in place, we can keep your reefers cool, we can keep your cold storage facility cool, even if there's a hurricane, even if there is a power outage from the main carriers. So the port is really set up and ready to act as a resilient, prepared, and efficient partner in facilitating a regional transshipment arrangement. So we are pushing it, we are driving it, and we're hoping that we can get the type of traction that would operationalize the port. And finally, if we can do this in Antigua, it means that we would reduce the need to have an expansion of massive port development throughout the region, but simply retooling those additional ports to be able to receive from one of our ports into the region. So Antigua, having developed itself, has a large enough port, a very large port. I would say too large for just Antigua. This is why I'm thinking of it not only from an Antiguan perspective, but really more of like transport and logistics hub of the OECS, and I say that from where I sit. It's not anything that's institutionalized yet, but I'm speaking of it in that terms, so that the other markets can be fed from there, and they don't need to spend 100, 150, or $200 million. If they don't need to do that, and we can improve their efficiencies, we are going to create greater resiliency in our transport sector. As of now, we have gone from about 19 shipping lines in, traversing the Caribbean from the 1990s to now. We are down to 5. Crowley just left a year ago. There might be others that are challenged. We don't know. But if you went from 19 to 5, that's a concern.
Yes.
And if you are going from that number to that low number, and freight rates are higher, volumes are higher, it means that you have to underscore why is that happening. Tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, I'll be presenting, and I'm going to answer that question at that session tomorrow.
We look forward to that. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, but I can see you moving around the region and trying to lead this exercise, though. I think you have what it takes to do that.
That's quite observant of you. That's pretty quick. I don't know that I have any capacity to do it. I think I see and understand the challenge. Yes. It's something that I've done pretty much almost all my life. Yeah. And the other thing is I come from the other side, because I was involved in shipping, and shipping into the Caribbean from the liner side. So I understand that side very well. I know how we think, or how they think, I should say. And now I'm sitting on this side with a different focus. I was trying to make profits for carriers. Now I'm seeing how we can save our Caribbean, because if the profits aren't there, they leave.
Yes.
And if they leave, the pressure builds. We do not have our own. So I am saying, if we use Kingston, it may take some time. We have Caribbean feeder services. It's not going every port yet. But if we get more volumes from Kingston, that can become a reality. And if we have a reality of a regional feeder from Kingston, hubbing at a sub-regional port in Antigua, the feeders will come, absolutely without question. The feeders will come, and then we have greater resiliency. It's not some magic, neither is some pie in the sky discussion. You bring the volumes to Antigua, there are cargoes to go to St. Kitts, Nevis, Dominica, Tortola, and the other islands around. That feeder, 1 or 2 small vessels, will take it from there and go back and come back here to be loaded again. If we start doing that, we may very well offer some of those Miami lines an option to not go to some of the smaller markets that is challenging to them. Now, if they don't do that, I'm getting into my presentation.
But I was about to say, yes. Well, look, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And we have a couple of listeners who have been keenly watching and listening. Very interesting perspectives from Mr. Darwin, says one Codalee Coconuts Gordon. Thank you very much. Look at the time. We have to take the break now, but thank you very much, and we look forward to tomorrow's presentation.
Thank you, and you're very welcome to have invited me on your show, and I appreciate being here. Thanks.
Pleasure. Take care. To the break.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Telemann.
You're welcome.
You're awesome as always.
It's 2 minutes. We're having too much fun here. 2 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, Jamaica.
Talk about. Am I too early?
You're good, man. You're good.
Under the law? So here to find out, how did you find out the word?
Let's go, studio. ¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 4:05. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 4:05. 现在10:04. 5 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, Jamaica. This is the home of the Caribbean Maritime University Industry Conference. Which is a 2-day event, started yesterday, started today and ends tomorrow. And it's been going pretty well so far, a lot happening. And if our previous guest is anything to go by, you get the sense of how serious a business this is and what the prospects are. So we look forward to that. So just about, well, it's now 6 minutes past 4 o'clock. And it's a good time. Well, you know the questions we normally ask. At this time, we usually ask, have you had a checkup lately? If not, now is a good time. Let's not wait till we get sick to get a checkup. How about that? Checking in with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Poro 106 FM. And it's time for us to speak with, yes, I was going to ask you if the position remains the same, and it does. He's director of the Office of Marketing and Communications at the Caribbean Maritime University. Mr. Archibald Gordon, welcome to, I almost said, another program.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate it.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. Today's a good day for us.
Indeed. Now, how do you market a brand that sells itself? Because the Caribbean Maritime University has evolved and is still evolving and still holds a level of prestige in terms of its programs and, importantly, its people. How do you, does that make it any easier for you in terms of?
It makes it easier if people understand about the industry and if they understand about the brand. But in truth and in fact, many people do not know. Mm-hmm. And I think we're in a sort of market where people are accustomed to being, as we might say, lawyer, doctor, Indian chief. Mm-hmm. So when people think about careers for the future, they have a way of thinking in those particularly traditional ways. And that is the challenge. Mm-hmm. Having people understand that you're not just talking about, you're talking about viable careers and lucrative jobs and high-paying jobs. Mm-hmm. And that really is a challenge. Having people understand more about the industry overall, mm-hmm. because people are so accustomed to the traditional kinds of careers.
Yes. And what can you tell us about the kind of interest that you get on or around this time? Is it pretty standard for the stakeholders to call you up and say, hey, we're on board again, or are we on, etc.?
When people know, they know. When people don't know, they don't know. But the people who know do know, and they do know that these represent really lucrative careers. So when you're talking, for instance, about the seafarers, mm-hmm. and those people are trained in the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies, the world continues to be short of seafarers. The people who are in the industry understand these are particularly lucrative jobs for a number of reasons. Apart from what they actually pay, when you're on a ship, you do not pay rent. You don't pay a mortgage. You are fed. So that's cash. That's net money. And you're also talking about an industry that is the engine of global growth. So everything from your cell phone to your television, absolutely everything is 80% of goods. 90% of goods are transported by sea. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about an industry that is able to command a certain level of salary because, as a matter of fact, it is really at the center of how we trade and transport goods across the world. So the people who understand those facts do understand, and you get a lot of support from them. But for the people who don't know, it's about wooing them and spreading the message across. when you talk about across the country and across the Caribbean, when you talk about engineering, for instance, people are accustomed to engineering in a particular kind of way. So, people are accustomed to going to the University of Technology or going to the University of the West Indies to pursue particular kinds of engineering degrees. But when you look at engineering in a different kind of way, when you understand that the maritime industry has its own need for particular kinds of engineers, and those are again lucrative jobs, then those people understand well. So it's about delivering that kind of message to people so that they understand. For the people who have those students who passed through the CMU and who've gone on to have those jobs, you get a lot of interest from those people.
Yes.
But it's about spreading the market, spreading the message rather, and expanding the market so people outside of those people understand that there are alternative careers.
And considering that you do have a number of cohorts over the years who have passed through CMU, surely it to be able to say, hey, introduce these outstanding past students to the present cohort, or when you do your outreach, or when they, I think from time to time they visit CMU to learn more, etc. More opportunities to demonstrate these are real people, these, and to share their stories.
But the one challenge is that sometimes it's hard to find those people. Those people
Because
are busy.
yeah.
Those people are busy.
Yeah.
They're not lying around. They are on ships. They
True.
are all across the world in all kinds of different jobs. And outside of the maritime and related industries, it's important to understand, for instance, and I want to point to another of our faculties, a faculty of shipping and logistics, that while it has shipping in the title, logistics you can use in anything. So today, for instance, I was having a conversation with a colleague about planning for another event, and they wanted to find someone at main events. And when I got the number for that person is a graduate of the Caribbean Maritime University, because you learn logistics, which is about the movement of goods. It helps you when you're talking about the planning of events. When we, for instance, go to a company like Nestle, for instance, where you're going to be moving large numbers of goods by truck across Jamaica, and you have to figure out how to pack goods, or you have to figure out what good do you put at what
first in, first out,
first in, first
right.
out. All of that has to be done. The degree is versatile, and those people, once they are particularly good at what they do get good jobs. So sometimes it's actually just hard to find people to say, yeah, I'm a successful graduate of the CMU. Here I am at the CMU Open Day, because it's hard to find time off. It's hard to get time off because either you're on a ship or you're in some sort of related element of the maritime industry, or even if you're local, you're all about the place. You're involved. You're actually getting work done.
And so, having said all of that, now, in terms of the general approach to encouraging students listening, generally, those who are listening now, for example, to say, hey, have you ever checked out the services, the different professions, career options, etc. I just get the impression that you don't have to do too much marketing in that regard, because, and you can respond, because it just seems like there's a newness about it, and I'm saying this because and my mind is, I'm touching on a couple of things here now. So for example, I'm thinking, could it be this business where we are not too certain how to respond to a CMU, for example? Does it have anything to do with us and the water, for example, in terms of how many of us can actually swim?
I think it's more about exposure to the information. And so that's where I have to lean on two of my team members, and three of my team members, and two of them are here, and that's where they go out and actually do the work that gets this done. I get to have the brilliant job of coming on here and talking about it, but the actual work gets done by my team, and that's Shaquille Powell, their digital marketing officer. He's new to
I
the
saw
team.
that name a while
earlier. and he is going to be, you know, engaging in an absolutely new thrust to reach students in a different kind of way, because we understand that students are changing. The ways in which I used to get information, I'm a kid of the television era, and I used to watch everything on television, and I no longer watch everything on television at a specific time. So the marketing of the product has to change, and that's, you know, Shaquille is at the core of that, because that's going to mean reaching a new generation, the generation where we know as a generation Gen Z and alphas to come in a different kind of way. It means that the ways in which we used to engage with students are going to have to change. It means that we're going to have to be showing people more than also just talking about the product. So a lot of the new videos that have been done on our CMU Instagram page have been done by Shaquille. That's also where you're going to have to still have the traditional marketing, where you're going to go out and meet people, and that's where Codalie Gordon comes in. She's a client relations officer, and that's going to be her role. So she's going to be, that is her role, and she's going to be going around the country and talking to people more, you know, hyping up people. You can't see it right now, but she's quite a hype person, and she has to go around to schools and remind students that there are opportunities outside of what they traditionally do. And part of that effort also is to introduce students to the technology behind shipping.
Yes.
Because if you think
come back to the technology behind shipping, because we need to take a break. Listeners, Archibald Gordon is in the hot seat this afternoon on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. Not quite. He's just sharing with us his work at the Caribbean Maritime University and impacting the broader society. One moment, please.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:16.
Farmers, come for a candid conversation with the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, the Honorable Colonel Johnson, learn more about the agricultural sector and the role we all play with its development. That's a morning with the Minister, every second and fourth Friday of every month during Farm Talk with Alton McKenzie, right here on Power 106 FM.
That's all I do.
They don't look at anything.
Look at anything, yeah?
No, it's easier in one way.
Right.
You have to create all of that content.
Mm-hmm.
So now you need a TV station at what was a university.
Right.
Standard. Let's go, studio. Que hora es en español? Son las 4:17. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 4:17. 现在几点了？4点17分. 17 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. This is the home of the 2-day Caribbean Maritime University Industry Conference, which ends tomorrow. You still have time to, if you missed today. And it's been quite awesome so far. Young people still use that word. It's still awesome. You know. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just looking across to
one of the young people. There's only one. I'm not going to say which one is the young person.
No, but serious business, and this is the idea. If you're into the business of getting people's attention, you have to have the right energy, and if you are relatable, then people are likely to be drawn to you and what you're doing and what you're offering. And so the energy is important. You were talking about technology. I think you were going on to.
Yes, I was saying that while you're marketing to a new generation that's completely different, which is what Shaquille will do, and what rather is doing, you also have to market to people in a traditional, just like you're talking about relatability. At the same time, you know, it's great to put a message out there, but things are sold by conversation, by relationships.
That's right.
That's where Codalie comes in. So she's a client relations officer, and that means that what you're going to be seeing from the CMU is more of a thrust to go across the country and to share that message about what we do, and that includes making people understand that there is quite a bit of exciting technology behind the marine and related industries. So we have a product called Technology and Innovation Day, and this is where you go out and you actually play with the technology behind shipping and logistics. Because what traditionally happens is that you go out and people put up their tents and they give you a brochure, and it's it's nice and fun, but it's not as fun as engaging with actual technology itself. So we're going to be taking out parts of the CMU, including the Center for Digital Innovation and Advanced
Don't you have a
Manufacturing.
simulator over there as well?
We do.
Yes.
We're not able to take out the simulator. It's very expensive, but we can take out part of the Fact Center, which is the center that teaches different elements of engineering, so people can see it. So, like for instance, something that's like your conveyor belt that you would have in agri-food and processing, you people will get to see that. You'll get to see some drones. They get to fly drones through an obstacle.
In fact, you make drones at CMU too.
We make drones. We actually have a center that a small project that does that as well. And you'll also be able to see 3D printing, which is at the sort of forefront of these sorts of new technologies, and that's what Codely has to do. Yes. And then I have to thank my other team member, Donique Smith, who is going to be, if people in town centers like in Halfway Tree or in Otorios and soon in Portmore are seeing about the CMU, on big billboards and that kind of thing, Donique is going to have to figure out how to spread that message in a different kind of way. So we understand that, we have a product that needs to be sold, but that a lot of people don't know about it, and we don't take it for granted at all, which means that all the team is going to be taking part in a renewed thrust to kind of spread that message so that we can, make more people know about the CMU. Because just to go back to your question, yeah, we have a good product, but a good product doesn't matter if people don't know about it.
That's right.
We recognize that is something that we have to continue to work at. So yeah, that is where we are going to be going, and people are going to be seeing more of that, because we are not just talking about something that is lucrative for the CMU, which I want people to understand that that's taxpayers' money. They pay it. It comes out of their pocket. So the resources of the CMU are dedicated to ensuring that people get the most out of shipping and logistics. That is our role, and it means that fulfilling our role, as I'm sure you've heard from the different speakers, including the president himself, is really, really fundamental, because you're talking about national development. It's not just about the success of a private institution. This is about ensuring that taxpayers who pay the staff of the CMU, who pay me, can reap the benefits of something that's potentially lucrative, not just for Jamaica, but across the Caribbean. And we understand that.
Yeah, and young people have another expression, boring. There's nothing boring about the output of the CMU. It's more exciting than anything else. And it should be easier to captivate more young people, because young people like that which is different, that which sparks curiosity, etc.
But we have to find different ways of captivating them.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we understand that the marketing and the ways in which we share those kinds of messages have to change. And I think that's not just true for the CMU, but that's true for all universities. People have to understand that they're supposed to fun,
That's
you're supposed
right.
to enjoy yourself.
Absolutely.
And that, for instance, is the aim behind Technology and Innovation Day, because it's one thing to give you information, but it's another thing for you to be engaged in information, or to be engaged in learning and to understand how you can program something, you can get your hands dirty, you can do all sorts of different kinds of things. So we want people to understand that we're not like the other universities, and we treasure that.
Yes.
That's okay with us. We understand that we have a particular kind of role, and we want people to be able to engage with what we do in a different kind of way, in a practical kind of way, and to have fun. Because education, learning is supposed to be fun.
That's right. So then, for those listening to us, youngsters, maybe they're in their, I don't know, maybe this is their last year of high school, for example. We know usually they send out what's called applications to universities and colleges, etc. And I'm thinking that with that, there's a tendency to limit their scope for whatever reason. And maybe it's the I don't know if it's the fear of the unknown or not knowing, as you said something to that effect earlier on. And so they move in a particular direction. And it seems to me, if we can get more young people exposed, if we can expose to CMU, so many more of us, so many more of them can in fact find themselves, find that path, find that passion.
What I would say is I don't think you were wrong when you said us. So I would say, first of all, that apart from the undergraduate degrees, it's important to understand that the CMU has graduate degrees as well. And we also have centers that do work. So the graduate degree element of the CMU is relatively new. The CMU became a university in 2017. So we're starting to build out those elements. And you spoke to Dr. Smith Johnson earlier, who is the Director of Graduate Studies and Research. And this industry conference is part of that effort for people to understand how what we do influences them. And we call it an industry conference for that reason, because we want you to understand we're talking about jobs and the potential to make a lot of money. But to go back to the point I'm making about us, is that you don't have to do one thing anymore. True. I mean, I grew up in the days when I used to see the shield of my father, a shield that he got from Alcan, and it was 27 years at Alcan, But the Gen Zs, exactly. The Gen Zs and the Alphas to come, that is not gonna happen. No 27-year jobs. So you can become a doctor, and you can become a doctor on a ship, and then you can decide that you don't want to become a doctor anymore, having been on the ship, and then you can come and do some other kinds of degrees and certifications at the CMU. You can do them both at the graduate level, and you can do them in some of our centers, like the Centers for Security, Counterterrorism, and Non-Proliferation, which is really just about, that said it by the former Commissioner Owen Ellington, and that's really just about teaching you things related to the security industry and understanding that alone is a big element by itself. There's maritime security, and that's different from police officers and correctional officers and the traditional security guards that we know on the land. That's a career all by itself, because ships get hijacked. Pirates take over ships. You have to figure out which vessels are transporting proper goods. People can hide proper things. So, that's an area all by itself that has not been fully explored in the Caribbean. And you heard from Mr. Telemack just a moment ago when he said that we haven't even got to the sort of tip of the iceberg where reaping the potential is of the maritime industry in the Caribbean is concerned. So from that kind of perspective, then all of those sort of complementary skills are going to be needed. You have more ships, you're going to need more people to secure them. If you have more ships, you're going to need more logisticians. If you have more ships, you're going to need more people to sail them. You're going to need people on people to do watch keeping. You're going to need people at all kinds of different levels. So it's for people to understand that it's not just an opportunity right now, and it's not just an opportunity you have to do for 3 years. It's an opportunity you can make a career out of, and it's an opportunity you can come into at any given point. So that's a really long answer to say yours is not incorrect. But
yes. No, with all of that now, when it comes to the business of because I've hardly ever heard a complaint in terms of the finances. I mean, from time to time, you have students at University A and University B says, this. But I'm wondering if it is that you've been managing the situation so well that,
over there
that we don't hear
expecting this question.
That we don't hear more about it, because I'm saying, because there's a thinking out there, and I've heard it, that if you're able to go to CMU, that means you or your parents have money, right? And so I want to hear about that student or those students who have issues and the ways in which Caribbean Maritime University seeks to assist or to play some role or another in just just not allowing these impressionable students.
Well, two things I would say.
Yes.
I will admit, and I'll be the first to admit, that some of the degrees cost more than others. But for us, we're medicine. For us, we're medicine.
Got you.
And so the returns for us, where the logic or the argument is that this is the same argument for why you want to be a lawyer and why you want to be a doctor. We are talking about making that kind of return if you get into the industry. Because if you think of your monthly check, and if you're on a ship, and I'm just using a random figure here to say that you make $100,000 and you don't have to feed yourself, and you don't have to pay rent, and you don't have to pay tax. That's net. Your gross is net.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it is easy to think of it in a year and say, yes, this costs more, but what you're going to get over the long term is much, much more. If you're able to get into the industry, you get a lot more.
Yes.
Right? You get a lot more out of it. So for us, we understand. In other words, what we're saying, it is in some instances a more costly product, but it's a premium product, and you get the return on the investment that you make is very, very solid. Trust me on that. The figures show it. With regard to what kind of assistance we make.
Hold on, don't move. Let's take a break and come back. Archibald Gordon is our guest on this afternoon's edition of, well, not the whole program, just these a couple of segments. But on this edition of Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, he is director of the Office of Marketing and Communications at Caribbean Maritime University. They're the university putting on this university conference that has been industrial conference, I beg your pardon, industry conference that has been going on since this morning and will continue until tomorrow. And those of you who have missed day one, try and catch day two. How about that? It's all about maritime matters. More in a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:31 on Power 106. Time change.
Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. for Your Legal Corner with Dana. Sides of the Story with Dervin Malcolm on Power 106 FM. It's your source of information regarding U.S. immigration.
Let's go, studio. ¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 5:27. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 5h-27. 现在几点了？5点27分. 27 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. Do you know where your children are? Are they where they're supposed to be? Doing what they're supposed to be doing? It's a good time to check up on the children. A good time for us to continue our conversation with Archibald Gordon, Director, Office of Marketing and Communications at Caribbean Maritime University, organizers of this World Maritime Week, World Maritime Day Industry Conference, 2-day event which ends tomorrow. And the theme is end-to-end logistics, opportunities in an era of uncertainty. And one thing's for sure, there's a level of certainty from that very detailed presentation by Mr. Darwin Telemack. he is certain that if what he says needs to be done is done, a lot more could happen for us in Jamaica and the rest of the region. And you don't want to miss the conclusion of his presentation tomorrow. In the meantime, though, we've been touching on some of the germane issues when it comes on to education in relation to the tutelage offered at Caribbean Maritime University, and just really trying to dispel some of the myths and trying to unmask some of the areas of learning. And I think we were about to uh, to 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 touch on the matter of the
of how we don't, why we don't have these
right,
large numbers of students complaining.
and the kind of support that CMU
A couple of
provides.
different ways. We provide support in a couple of different ways. For one, we have an earn and learn program, so that if you're a student on campus, you can apply for jobs. Because, and I think this is our version of something that happens in other universities. So, I have interns, you gain valuable experience, but you also earn some money.
Right.
Outside of that, we are a big proponent on financial assistance as well. So we have a payment package for students. We require that you pay up. We have you pay 35%, 25%, different percentages once you have paid up fully your auxiliary fee. So we understand, depending on your cash flow, that you may need to be paying over time. So we provide those facilities. At the same time, we also target, scholarships. So we have an association that works with us, the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation. They're based in the United States. Dr. Jenny Brown Metzger, the executive director, should have been here, but she's trapped in Florida because of the hurricane. Yeah, and former consul general to, I believe,
New York.
to New York. And they provide a lot of scholarships, sometimes full scholarships and sometimes part scholarships, and also grants which you don't have to pay back. And we also have a range of scholarships. And this is actually one of the challenging areas for us. Again, it goes to having people understand what's required, or understand rather the valuable nature of the jobs. Last year, for instance, the Ministry of Education and Youth provided 100 scholarships for engineering students at the CMU, and I don't think there was a massive 100 scholarships.
Wow.
We called people, we put it on the internet, but we didn't get the sort of massive take-up. And we like to get all 100 scholarships. Yep, 100 scholarships. Because science and technology and engineering, those are really big areas, not just at the CMU, but big areas for the country and big areas globally. So those are some of the kinds of things that we do in order to be able to support students. I mean, we do acknowledge and understand that it's a difficult time for everybody. And we do as much as we can. Once students come in and they have discussions, as with all universities, sometimes students are late to come in. They are, sometimes fearful of applying for scholarships. So we hold webinars. We actually make the calls. We make phone calls to students, and so forth. We try to advertise the programs.
Essentially, they say, hey,
Yeah.
this
apply.
is what we have.
And I
This
tell them
is
my
for
own
you.
story.
That kind
Yeah,
of-
man.
yeah.
I tell them my own story. Didn't think I would get a scholarship, so I didn't apply. And we bring in other students. So it's just to try to continue to encourage students. But those are some of the ways that we try to do that. At the same time, we do want students to understand that, with the exception of Sam Sharp Teachers College, the Caribbean Maritime University, as fantastic as we think it is there is no institution that gets less government support than the CMU, other than the Sam Sharp Teachers College, and that accounts for every university and every teachers college. The least amount of government support than Sam Sharp Teachers College. That's something that we're engaged in dialogue to try and get more support. And that's an ongoing effort. But I'm saying that at the end of the day, so students can understand that we do have to pay the lecturers. You do have to turn on the lights. You do have to pay for the internet service. So we want students to understand that it's a partnership. We want them to come forward if they are having challenges. and we try to bring that message out as much as possible. And so far, based on what you're saying, we have been lucky to not sort of have that overall uproar with students. They complain privately, but if you come down to the CMU and ask them about it, they'll tell you it's the best thing since sliced bread. So we are happy for that. Yeah. We are happy for that, and we'll continue the efforts just to advise students about the realities while trying to work with them, because we understand that these are potentially lucrative and they're life-changing opportunities for people.
And it's important for them to recognize that this is an investment.
Yes. It's an investment, and it's one of the biggest investments you're going to make outside of, I think, like a mortgage. There's a set of individuals, and perhaps this is just true of Jamaicans overall, who are afraid of debt, and we understand that. But there's good debt. Making
what you do with the money that you borrow.
What you do with exactly. So your education and a house as well, that is a good investment.
That's right.
It's an investment that's going to pay dividends across years. Because things have changed so much, there's a and I feel very passionate about this while I'm slowing down, but we take for granted how many people in the country have tertiary education. We take for granted. It is a small number of people. And while wages are low, university graduates are better off than the average Jamaican. And university graduates with degrees that have sort of global currency are even better off. So we want people to understand that in that kind of context. If you are going to be paying $1 million or $700,000 for your degree in 1 year, but what you're going to reap is a multi-million-dollar investment that allows you to transform your life, that is not a bad investment. That's a good investment, because that's a fraction of what you will make in a lifetime.
And speaking of investment, what about revenue generation, in terms of creating revenue generation opportunities at CMU?
That's a big part of what we've always done. So much so that so much so that we have a lot of projects. Connelly is laughing. We always had a lot of projects. So I mean, CMU is a place where we've always been working and trying to work with industry to make opportunities. And that is the sort of logic behind not just having the faculties, but also having the centers. So the idea here is that the faculties teach students, but the centers, like the one I mentioned, the Center for Security, Counterterrorism and Non-Proliferation, headed by the former commissioner, is supposed to bring in consultancies as well. So while we are lobbying for government to pay us more, we also understand that like everybody else wants money. So we can't just sit down and say, boy, we don't have enough money, so we can't do anything. We also have to pound the pavements and go there and try to make money. So that is part of what the commissioner and his center does. That's also part of what the Center for the Blue Economy does. And this is a center that is investigating anything to do with the maritime environment, from how much garbage is in the sea to to the nature of impacts on sea life, things which are influencing sea life, etc., maritime life. And the idea here is to bring in additional money. And the FACT Center, which is the First Authorized and Certified Training Center, which is a new kind of engineering that I'm talking about, is not just about training students at the CMU, but bringing industry partners in who are able to pay higher fees than perhaps students would be to be able to supplement the fees that students pay. So that is actually quite the logic of this sort of structure of the CMU, or understanding that, we have to earn keep.
Yeah, makes sense.
And at the end of the day, we need to make more money. Yes. So those are sort of that's the logic of the structure. But outside of that kind of logic, there are also efforts to how can we make CMU a greener campus and more energy efficient? So if you come down to the CMU, for instance, you'll see our parking lot. One of the parking lots has solar panels. And the idea here is to be able to reduce the cost of energy to the CMU so that you can make better use of the money that students have. You can spend more money on the students. You can spend more money investing in the students. And that's not the only place. You do have some buildings on the CMU where that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to lay out more solar panels because we understand so you have to make money stretch.
Yes, right.
So you know you have to. So that's part of what we're doing. We're building the partnerships, but we're also trying to figure out how can we make CMU more, more greener, more efficient, so that the money that we have and that we do get from government as well and that we get from students can be used more efficiently.
Yeah. After the break, I want to give you an opportunity just to, in general terms, speak to, and you have touched on a few of them, but just the program of offerings in terms of studies at CMU when we come back from this break. Young people, listen up. Lots of opportunities out there. Check Caribbean Maritime University, CMU. You'll hear more in just a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:45. The Caribbean Maritime University and ISM.
¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 5 menos 12. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 5 heures moins 12. 现在7点了，5点12分。 12 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, Jamaica. This is the home of the 2-day Caribbean Maritime University Industry Conference. Started today and will end tomorrow. And we're looking forward to day 2. Day 1 has gone pretty well. And no doubt some of the information coming out of this event will make the news at some point, and looking forward to reading what we might have missed as well. But in the meantime, we've also been keen on just exposing the various opportunities and features and components and offerings of the Caribbean Maritime University. And so in this final segment, and we hear that a certain member of Archibald Gordon's team is versed on this particular area, and that is uh, and that is as it relates to the suite of programs and studies that are pursued. We have touched on them at different points throughout the discussions and the conversations this afternoon, but the program is drawing to a close, and we want to ensure that youngsters who've been listening and their parents and guardians, because sometimes it's not so much the youngsters who are listening, but it's the parents, and they say, hey, go come here, take down this number, or this is a place I think you need to go to, etc., etc. And so that's what we want to do in this segment. So I want to talk about the program offerings at the Caribbean Maritime University. Archibald Gordon, uh, Director, Office of Marketing and Communications at CMU. Where would you like to start in that regard?
First of all, I thought when you said Keen, that was, because that's my middle name actually. So I thought you were saying you had someone who was keen. Well, Cordelie is sitting right in front of me to prompt me, folks, in case I don't remember all of them, because she knows the suite of programs, and she speaks. This is her area of expertise. But certainly I want to talk about the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies, and this is the faculty that essentially trains seafarers.
Mhm.
When you're talking about the training of seafarers, you're not just talking about the degree program itself, but it's important for people to understand, much like the continuing education courses that you have. If you're a lawyer,
Mhm.
that when you're on a ship, you continue to need to be, to keep up to date with standards, because they're going to change over time.
Yes.
How you operate a ship, what the engineering requirements, etc., they're changing over time, and it is sort of more akin to like the Navy or the Army, where you can move up, you can become a captain, etc. So there are two kinds of elements there. First is the undergraduate degree program. So you'd have degrees, for instance, in marine transportation, in naval architecture, and naval architecture. And because of the particular technical expertise required, you need to be able to read maps. You need to be able to understand how to operate a ship, or parts of a ship, which can be very, very technical, require that people have 5 CSEC subjects, and that includes 2 technical subjects as well. So it could be physics, for instance, or it might be, I don't know, chemistry, for instance, or or mechanical engineering. So that is those are the offerings there. On the other side of that, when you leave the faculty with a degree, if you want, there is a center called the Maritime Training Center that provides continuous training for elements that you need to learn in order to be able to operate on a ship. So like basic safety training, for instance, and these are short courses. And Jamaica is the only whitelisted training center in this part of the region. So it's the only place you can come and get this done. So those training courses are booked out, for instance, until the rest of the year. So those are 2 elements I want to make clear to people: the undergraduate degree as well as the continuing education element.
Mhm.
Where we also have the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Technology. And again, you need 5 CXCs, and along with the 2 technical subjects in order to do this, because of course
5 CXCs, including 2 technical subjects.
Including math and English and 2 technical subjects.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because of the technical nature of the area. As I was alluding to before, what we know is a defining difference between our engineering degree and the degrees which are offered at the University of Technology or the University of the West Indies, for instance, is just the nature of how we're training engineers. We are not just training the engineers of now; we are training the engineers of the future. And by that I mean, when you're learning about engineering, generally speaking, you would have been exposed to different areas of engineering. So a mechanical engineer, an industrial engineer, for instance. But at the CMU, the effort now is to train engineers who are versed in different kinds of areas. So that if you're in a building, for instance, and you have a particular kind of problem, the engineer that we supply will be able to address that kind of problem. So it's a more multifaceted sort of engineer. And so there you have all sorts of engineering degrees, the more modern ones, as I've alluded to. So the Bachelor of Engineering Industrial Automation, the Bachelor of Engineering in Industrial Systems, and the Bachelor of Engineering in Mechatronics. And then you have the Faculty of Shipping and Logistics. So this is the faculty that trains anyone to do with the sort of shipping industry, logistics, the movements of goods by air, by land, by sea. So this is where you would have the Bachelor of Shipping and Logistics, and you'd also have the Bachelor of Science in Customs Processing, Freight Forwarding, and Immigration, which is the degree that has to do with when people are entering or leaving the country, etc. Border control, essentially. And here you need 5 CXCs, including math and English. You would need the technical services here. Now, the technical subjects here. In addition, we also have a center that is going to be evolving into a faculty, I would say, which is the Center for Security, Counterterrorism, and Non-Proliferation. Non-proliferation really means the movement of small arms, like guns, handguns, which is a big problem in Jamaica.
Yeah.
So this is the faculty or the center that is going to be training your security personnel. So you have the security administration and management program. You have digital forensics, for instance. You have police services. You have a range of different sort of degrees which are being built out in that area. And the target here is people who work in the industry overall, with the security guards, members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, etc. And at the graduate level, we understand that just like any other university now that we've moved, since moving from being an institute in 2017 to becoming the Caribbean Maritime University, you have to begin to develop a sort of robust graduate program, which means that the Dr. Smith Johnson, who spoke with your station a little earlier, she is going to be working to build out those kinds of programs in different kinds of areas at the master's level, and eventually our aim is to have a terminal degree or a PhD, because just like any university, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be training people right now, also training them at the graduate level and helping them develop a certain level of expertise and to grow and grow and grow. Apart from those degree areas and those faculties, we also have the opportunities, as I said, for consultancies. So you look at the 3D printing area, for instance, the Center for Digital Innovation and Advanced Manufacturing. It's a fancy name for a center that does 3D printing, but it also does what we call additive manufacturing. So additive manufacturing is where, like when you're building your old table, you get a big block of wood and you cut out the block of wood and you waste half of it. That's not what modern manufacturing is like anymore. In modern manufacturing, you design on computer and you produce the finished product all by itself, so you have less wastage. You're also able to test the product at a particular kind of level. So if you think of how, for instance, we do cars nowadays, where you have the crash dummy and the car crashes. You don't need to do any of that. You can do all of that on computer. You can build a wall and figure out, will it stand up to a certain level of earthquake? That is among the services that the CDIM does. It also does what to do with computer visioning. So people might know of Jamaica Eye.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who's on the run from the police and they're in a particular vehicle, we are developing the technology and the expertise to teach people how to be able to use those technologies, for instance, and just be able to identify that. So you drive past a camera and the camera says, oh, this is a Honda, not a Honda. This is the license plate. That's not the license plate. That's computer visioning. Those are some of the suites of services offered by the Center for Digital Innovation and Advanced Manufacturing. We also talked about some of the others, but those are just some of the areas. We have a lot going on, and we intend to be telling people a lot more about them.
Excellent. How can people connect with and contact and keep in touch with and follow the work and the general output of Caribbean Maritime University.
A lot of this information is on our website, so you can go cmu.edu.jm. So again, www.cmu.edu.jm. You can reach us on Twitter. You can reach us on Instagram. You can email us at info@cmu.edu.jm. And of course, you can call us. But Shaquille, Codalee, the team, they're busy, answering all of those queries. So especially for young people who we know want to use those digital platforms, one of the best places to reach us is simply to contact us on Instagram. We're where you are.
I like that. Archibald Gordon, thank you so much, Director, Office of Marketing and Communications. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. And thanks to the other members of the team, Shaquille, Codalee, Donique,
and Tawana.
Tawana.
Forget Tawana.
All the best. We're out of time. Thank you, Ludlow, for doing technical duties on location. The team in the studios of Power 106 FM, Adrian Reed and Davin Thomas. We're out of time. Thanks to our business development executives, Vivette Malcolm. Thank you very much, Vivette Malcolm. Thanks, everybody. We're out of time. Take care. Catch you tomorrow.
The preceding broadcast of both sides of the story from the Caribbean